right, good afternoon, everybody. I'm an associate member of T3 Trading Group, which is an SEC registered broker-dealer and member of FINRA SIPC. All of my trades are placed through T3 Trading Group. You should carefully consider whether trading is suitable for you in light of your own financial condition. Position disclosure here. I got out of my path long because I got to my target. And I did keep some Apple short, even though I said when I entered the trade that it was just going to be a day trade for me. I probably shouldn't be. I'm down in it, but barely anything actually when all is said and done. So this is just an example of me being stubborn, to be totally honest. Anyway, let's take a look at the market. So we had a nice snapback rally after yesterday's disaster. SPY's up 0.75% with a solid close above 600. It's the important level that we had been discussing. Q's good snapback rally into its equilibrium area on the daily chart, up 1.4%. IWM a little bit flatter here, which I think was being negatively impacted by a little bit of an increase in interest rates, though this TLT did close on highs, so that came back in its favor a little bit. And what's the dollar? Dollar's also green. So dollar is positive, and that weighs on the market just a little bit. So let's have a dive in here and take a look at what happened. It was a pretty interesting day. So, one of the things that we discussed in yesterday's afternoon meeting after this whole DeepSeek thing is that the read-through on it, I felt, as of yesterday, was still very unknown. A lot of question marks around how the market is going to interpret this in terms of winners and losers. We know that obviously the knee-jerk reaction yesterday morning was to sell everything in tech, sell everything with anything related to AI. Today, I think we got a little bit more clarity on that to some degree, but maybe still not fully when you look at like a NVIDIA chart, which did certainly snap back today. So first of all, SPY's closing back above 600. I do think puts the SPYs back into more of a bullish mode. But when I look at the Qs, I still don't think that the Qs are confirming it. The Qs snap back into this equilibrium zone, which I said in the morning meeting that this is actually the area that I'd be interested in potentially starting to short, which I didn't end up doing in the Qs, mainly because I had Apple short and then I was heading back to Palantir again. So I had as much short exposure on as I really wanted, so I never actually took that. So I still don't think that we have full clarity across the board from the market, but SPYs are looking pretty good. Qs are very neutral still, and the IWM is still holding in also, even though it was relatively weak today after being relatively strong yesterday. It hasn't really been the play. So what did we learn today? What did the market tell us today, I guess I should say, to answer some of the question marks from yesterday? What do we know now, and what do we still not know, to be honest? I'll start with what I think we still don't know is NVIDIA. NVIDIA gave a great snapback today. It got above yesterday's high. It pretty much closed on highs, but it just closed back into the support zone between 127 and 130. And that's with there being still so much downside extension from yesterday's move. So even with the snapback today, the ADMA on the daily chart still all the way up at like 134.60 right now as I'm doing this afternoon meeting, with the stock trading at 128.34 and is into like an area that was support and could hold as resistance going forward. So I still don't see any real read-through on NVIDIA outside of some oversold dip buying bouncing back into that zone. And if anything, this is still the zone that I would look to potentially short. The one warning I gave on jumping in on the short side of NVIDIA in this 127 to 130 area today is that there's still so much upside extension. I would have a lot more conviction shorting NVIDIA in this area if the ADMA was trading at 130. It's not. It's trading at 134.50. Obviously, that'll be a little bit lower tomorrow. So we can reassess this in the morning meeting tomorrow when we know how the market has gapped, where this is gapping to, and where the ADMA is trading down to tomorrow. But I still don't think that NVIDIA is giving us any sort of all clear sign. It has not recaptured the full key support zone that it lost yesterday. But the real winner today was software. These software stocks, holy cow, the rip in these things this morning was incredible, and they just did not stop. They absolutely did not stop. They were completely going parabolic at a certain point, and then just continued higher. And that is what our definition of momentum is. So the initial read through that we're getting off of, I think, the DeepSeek stuff as of now, based on what the market is telling us, is not necessarily an all clear for NVIDIA, but is just a message that continued improvements in technology create winners. And in this case, those winners are the software companies that can utilize an improved AI that comes at lower costs to be able to get there. And there were just so many of them that were so unbelievably strong today. Shopify, Monster, Path, which I liquidated today because my target on this was like 15 quarters, so I got out of it when I got to my target. So Path, Monster, I don't know, Unity had a big bounce back day today. CRM gave an okay day too. What did Snow end up doing? Snow, phenomenal continuation. We mentioned this one as a long potential today. Some of these others like Sentinel-1, cyber security, big bounce back today. Pretty much anything that was software just gave these incredible moves. And Palantir, even another one. Palantir being particularly interesting because Palantir, since Palantir is considered to be an AI stock, was one of the ones that was hit hardest yesterday, only then to really benefit as being more of like a software play that benefits from lower cost than an AI play that gets hurt from the DeepSeek information that came out yesterday. So software, the real winner. NVIDIA, I think that we're still pretty unsure. Obviously, the other big winner, and this one seems pretty obvious when you think about it, is China. Alibaba, I think we saw some headlines today that Alibaba was going to be working with or inputting DeepSeek into, I don't know, some aspect of their offering. So this thing just absolutely led the market higher for the China stocks, closing up around 7% or so on the day. That gave a further boost to this yin. I actually added a lot of size in yin this morning early, around 30-ish, just because of this idea of not only are these Chinese stocks looking technically so much better, but to me this is just a whole additional reason to own China right now, beyond the fact that the other ones are that the technicals look good, that the stocks are extremely cheap fundamentally, and the Chinese government is really supporting the stock market almost more than any other aspect of the economy right now with the buybacks that are going on. I mean, the buybacks that even just Alibaba, JD, Baidu are implementing into their stocks are just huge. And one additional reason here is maybe there is some technology now that's coming out of China that is ahead of what we have here in the United States. I'm definitely using the word maybe there. But for the moment, it's just an extra reason for these markets and these names to move higher. So there's your clear and obvious winners on the day. That seems to be the read-through. When you look at like mega cap tech, Meta getting further follow through, this is also being read as a winner, I guess, because what the market is thinking is, yeah, they've spent a boatload of money on CapEx, but potentially they can reduce their CapEx expenditures going forward to be able to deliver the same level of product on AI. So another win there. Meta, we said, was not one to short today. Amazon, we said, was not one to short today. Google, which was not as strong, we said was not one to short today. And they gave great follow through. If Meta gives a big day 3 tomorrow, it's a potential short setup. It's just becoming difficult because it's right in front of earnings, and I'm not sure that I personally would want to be trying to fight Meta counter momentum right in front of an earnings report. But those are the clear winners that we're beginning to learn based on the message of what the market is telling us. But I still revert back to a couple things. One is that these Qs, in my opinion, have not fully cleared themselves higher, nor has NVIDIA, obviously. I still like a lot of the concepts that was coming from Charlie McElligott, which was summarized here in Pat's note earlier today about the risk to the downside based on just the amount of concentration that has built up in these Mag 7, Mag 8 stocks should an unwinding actually occur, especially in conjunction with the levered ETF universe that we have now at this point. So I'm still not fully sold on these cues, but it definitely could be a situation where the market determines that there are winners and losers, even amongst Mag 7, Mag 8 itself, or maybe it's the semiconductors that are the losers, some worse than others, and some of these other ones that are just going to benefit from AI, like an Apple, as a winner. Um, Apple was really tough today, so I had so my thought process based on literally what I just said was to be looking short, but a lot of the levels that I was interested in shorting when we were doing the morning meeting felt like they were still pretty far away. Uh, Apple obviously completely blew through it. I was thinking Apple 234, Nvidia. I was thinking the 127 to 130. Palantir. I was thinking 77. It completely blew through it. Tesla. I was thinking versus yesterday's high. That was relatively weak. That worked out pretty well. Qs. I was thinking into that 520 area. We ended up closing in that zone, and I didn't actually take the trade. SOXL. I know we were thinking like if it could snap back to the 28 to $30 area. Interesting to see how much weaker SOXL's bounce back is compared to Nvidia's bounce back. So, a lot of those ideas were very far away from those prices when we were doing the morning meeting. And it's interesting to see that a couple of them, Apple and Palantir, which are being viewed as the winners of this DeepSeek story right now, completely blew through those levels. And that's just because Palantir, as part of that software complex that we discussed, was just massively, massively bullish today. And Apple, we discussed yesterday, is just a big potential winner here as well, because they've always positioned themselves as the company that's just going to be involved in whatever is the best AI, as opposed to spending billions of dollars themselves to try to create it. And that also, I think, corresponds with the issue that kind of hit Apple down for a lot of January, which is that the Chinese phones had no AI partnership, which was one of the reasons that the market's attributing to the slowdown in China iPhone sales. Maybe now they can create a partnership. Even with that, this Apple was a monster move today. I thought it was going to run into resistance as it approached the declining 21 EMA, as it's still kind of overall in this downtrend, and you still have this pivot high that was here at like 238.75. It just absolutely, like a lot of things just really exceeded my upside expectations today. Like the Shopify's of the world, like we already talked about. This Apple for sure, just a complete and utter monster. I started shorting this thing into this first extension up move after 15 minutes or so on the day, and I remember I was also buying Nvidia at the same time, and I was being unhappy with myself on how I was managing the position that I should have, per my kind of game plan, downsized more into this downtick on the fourth 5-minute candle. I didn't. It did give me the chance to downtick, to downsize into the first touch of the 80 MA at 10 a.m. So that downsizing really, I think, helped me to control how much I was down in the stock at various points. And then I managed to kind of add in some right spots up here. I never got the downside roll that I wanted, even when I perfectly called highs in the Qs at a certain point this afternoon. I forget exactly where I did that. I think it was on this move. It was on this move right here. I had a great call on the QQQ short the traders could have taken. I know a new high eventually came in. And Apple just like was acting as if the market wasn't even open. It was really strange. But I managed to manage the position well enough that even though I couldn't have been more wrong on the area that I was looking to short, that my P&L in it all combined, because I traded options in it also, day traded options in it, which I pretty rarely do, um, is down pretty small. And like I said, the only reason why I'm even keeping some to the short side overnight when I said it was just going to be a day trade is just because I'm being stubborn, and it's not necessarily what I would recommend other people to do. I'm being stubborn. I'm trading my P&L a little bit. I don't recommend that you be stubborn when you trade. I don't recommend that you trade your P&L, but I occasionally do. So, like I said, I was just trying to be honest with you guys on what I do versus what I think the right thing is to do. So, managed to manage that one, like I said, pretty well when all was said and done. Kind of same with this Robinhood. I started shorting this Robinhood, not too big, but I started shorting it around 48. And then I took some ads up here, and then I got this pullback, and I managed to manage that position as well, so that the loss was non-existent. Actually, I finished flat in it, but really incredible how strong some of these software names were, how strong Apple was, how strong Meta was. Not as surprising that NVIDIA bounced back from some of that extreme extension that it actually gave. And then the one that I'm definitely down on the day, but also not a huge amount. I'm down a lot on my Palantir swing because it was up so much. I'm down also on day trades that I took in it, but not by a huge amount. Most of my negative P&L in Palantir is from the swing itself, but I am keeping some additional Palantir short beyond my kind of core swing position that I have and was managing as this thing gets back into this $80 resistance area. And I'm primarily doing that because I'm still not fully sold on the market itself. So these cues haven't fully proved themselves to me that they are in shape. And until they do, I feel okay keeping some of that Apple short where I'm being a little bit stubborn and keeping some additional Palantir short. But honestly, today was not a great trading session for me because I felt like I had these ideas. I was a little bit too early and too aggressive on some of those ideas. And then I spent pretty much the entirety of my day just focusing on managing those positions to try to make the best out of trade ideas in a situation that weren't actually that great for me. That kind of summarizes, I think, the market right now and summarizes my day a little bit. I know that Rich has a question on NVIDIA, so we can just jump in on NVIDIA a little bit further and Rich's question. So one thing at the open, it was really interesting because you had NVIDIA getting absolutely smoked and you had Apple just absolutely ripping. And what we saw yesterday to some degree, and I think that this is just going to be a nuanced trade that happens for a relatively short period of time and will probably end as quickly as it started. But it seemed like at a lot of point yesterday, NVIDIA and Apple were almost trading inverse to one another because Apple was being viewed for reasons that we've discussed as like a real winner of DeepSeek even yesterday, whereas NVIDIA obviously is being viewed as the number one potential loser of DeepSeek. So when I saw that NVIDIA was getting wrecked in the first 15 minutes of the day, even though my game plan said, hey, I can potentially look for shorting opportunities if NVIDIA rips up into the 127 to 130 area, when this thing broke yesterday's low and was trading approaching $116 with the 80 MA on the daily chart at 134.50, it was a reason for me to go long. Similar to how I was buying NVIDIA on the long side, and I ended up with a small winner in NVIDIA long yesterday as well. Just because at a certain point in the afternoon, it was still in this downtrend, but I started to look to see if that downtrend could break higher. Just because of the degree of extension that there now had existed on the daily chart. So, I think everyone on the team knows that I sometimes will take trades I don't necessarily believe in because I think that there's an opportunity to be able to make money because of extension or the technicals or whatever it is. In this case, it's the extension. So I don't really believe in NVIDIA right now. It hasn't proven itself to me, but there was so much downside extension. I was trying it yesterday afternoon, made a little bit of money on it. And then today, when Apple was ripping to 235 within 15 minutes, and NVIDIA was getting smoked below yesterday's low in the first 15 minutes, I kind of said to myself, all right, these are currently trading inverse to each other again, similar to how they were yesterday. But Apple just got to the 21 EMA into this 235 zone that I think is going to hold us some resistance. And at the same time, they just smoked this NVIDIA down through yesterday's low, or I think you could look for, it's not technically an RDR because yesterday was only a day one, but I think that I could look to buy this back kind of through yesterday's low to see if I can get a bounce back off of extension, and almost take this as a little bit of a pairs trade where I'm going long NVIDIA because of the downside extension, because this has been the loser of the DeepSeek trade, while I now short Apple as it gets into the 21 EMA, where I think resistance could come in, as this has been the winner of DeepSeek, and kind of doing that at the same time. Well, what happened from that point is the inverse correlation on how these stocks were trading yesterday and today disappeared as fast as it came, as kind of expected at a certain point. And NVIDIA did give a great trade and turnaround from that extension, whereas Apple just continued to absolutely rip. And then it seemed just like everything at that point was starting to move higher, and that trade no longer existed. So, you know, the NVIDIA trade was great. It worked out really well. So I think, Rich, your question, let me just reread your question. Independent of where it went at the end of the day, because we can't predict that, after buying back through yesterday's low, why did you choose to fully liquidate your position to the ADMA on the 15-minute chart versus leaving a small trailer? There are other factors at play, like potential tech change with the DeepSeek news and day one down yesterday, plus below 200 day at the time. I would appreciate your thoughts, like always. Sure. So basically the question on NVIDIA is, we had a great buy in it. Literally bought lows in NVIDIA today, and I actually bought it with decent size. I bought it with decent size, but not with an aggressive game plan. And you could have certainly had a more aggressive game plan than I chose to have. So, like I just said, NVIDIA's ADMA is at 134.55. At a certain point, NVIDIA is going to touch the ADMA again. How does it settle this downside extension? Does it do it through time? Does it do it through price? Is it a combination of both? So you easily could have had a game plan that was more of a trim and trail type of game plan that was holding some for a retest of 130 or a retest of the ADMA on the daily chart or whatever it was. It wasn't my trade, and it's really as simple as that. Whenever you create a trade, you create an idea, you create a game plan for that trade, which is based on what you're looking for. And for me, it probably goes back to what I was just saying before. I don't believe in NVIDIA yet. It hasn't proven itself to me. And like I was just saying, sometimes I'll take trades that I don't believe in because I think I can make a few dollars. And that might be a technical trade and the opposite of what I think is true for an individual stock or whatever. I mean, you guys all remember when I was going long quantum names. I was buying RGTI down here and QUBT down here. I wasn't buying these things because I believed in them. I was buying them because RGTI just had a day 4 down into $6 when it was just at 20, and I thought I could get a snapback, even not believing in it, to like $11 or so, and the trade obviously worked out really well. Could I have been more greedy and look for a move back to all-time highs or look for a move to $16? Sure, I could have, and I may have done so if this was something that I actually believe in. But it's not. It wasn't something I believe in. It was just a trade. It was just an opportunity. And it's the exact same process here with the NVIDIA trade. The NVIDIA long right now is not something I believe in. Could you get a lot more follow through on the long side than I got? Absolutely. And it gave that. And you could have used a greedier game plan than me. But I'm a big believer in following through on the game plan that you set for yourself. And for me, I just had a shallow game plan where I was looking for a retracement lower in Apple and a retracement higher in NVIDIA at the same time. I meant for both to be just relatively simple day trades and then kind of to see what happens. And it's a stock that even with that degree of downside extension, I just don't believe in it because it hasn't proven itself to me on the daily chart after just a day one breakdown. There's a lot of extension, but yesterday, despite all that extension, was only a day one breakdown. So for me, it was just a cute overextension day trade long. I had enough size in it that it made me a good couple bucks on it. But that's really the answer to the question. And lo and behold, it was by far the easiest day trade of the day for me. Obviously, it worked so well when you bought lows, so it's going to be, as opposed to, like I was saying before, everything I was doing on the short side today turned into damage control more than actually trying to make real money for myself, which sucks. I hate that, but it is what it is. It happens from time to time. So hope that helps with the question there, Rich. Happy to answer any other questions anybody's got. Who's better than you, Billy? Guess you said it first. What else, guys? I'm not seeing anything in the VTF in the YouTube for once. Anybody else have anything here in VTF land? Covered China already for Varun. Covered the market. Covered Nvidia. We covered Apple. Covered the software stocks. If anybody has any questions on anything, I'm happy to answer them. Otherwise, we can do a quicker meeting than we usually do. It's going to be a big week. Got a lot going on tomorrow. And I am out for a lot of next week. And so is Josh. So I really hope that with Josh and I both out, I'm not out all of next week. I'm out. I got to leave on Monday at like 2:30, 3 o'clock Eastern, I think. And I'm out Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday. So I'm working like most of Monday and all of Thursday, but I won't be available to do the afternoon meeting on Monday. Pat is going to do his best to cover the meetings that week. I'll probably still be around on most of the mornings, to be honest, just because of the time zone that I'm in. It enables me to be around for pre-market in the open. Apex Joy wants to know if the Fed will be dovish tomorrow. I have no idea on the language from the Fed. I mean, if you're looking for a cut, if that's what you mean by dovish, you're not going to get one. The question is it a dovish pause or a hawkish pause? I got a feeling it's going to be about as neutral of a pause as Jerome Powell can possibly muster up. I think that he's going to try to not give way on either side when it comes to foretelling what the Fed's going to do the rest of this year, which there's a good chance actually that the market then interprets that a little bit more on the hawkish side. If I had to guess, and it's a pure guess, I would say that the risk is to the downside on the Fed tomorrow. But we'll see. Anything else, ladies and gentlemen? Kind of a tough day, I thought. Maybe we could have done a better job trying to predict the read-through on who these winners are going to be on DeepSeek today, is the only thing I can say. But given that we didn't, I thought it made for a pretty tough day today. Like I said, I spent most of my day doing damage control, but luckily I'm so heavy in these Chinese stocks to the long side that when they started really ripping it saved me. This Alibaba has been one of my biggest positions, and I added heavily on Yin today, and I still got some of this JD, which performed a bit today as well. Yeah, me too. All right, we'll wrap it up there then. Have a wonderful night, everybody. I'll see y'all tomorrow.